Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to our webinar, Uncover How E.On developed cost-effective, 100% Salesforce-native DevOps with Flosum. Now, in today's market situation, one of the burning questions with Salesforce DevOps is, how can you deploy DevOps within Salesforce that would genuinely improve team productivity, but you do not want to drain your finances at the same time? This is what we are going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Disha Thakkar, Director of Product Marketing at Flosum, and I'm super excited to introduce our guest, Joakim from E.On. But before we start, just a few housekeeping rules. We have a question and answer session towards the end. Please use Q&A tab to post all your questions. Also, we'll be sending you all a recording of this session, but we urge you to stay till the very end. We promise you, this is going to be an exciting, informative, and interactive session. Plus, we also have an amazing incentive. Attend this webinar till the end, and a few of you will have the chance to win a $50 gift card. With this, let me introduce you to our esteemed speaker, Joakim. Joakim is a seasoned project manager at E.On, a leading European energy company worth over $90 billion plus. He specializes in Salesforce Industries, which was previously also known as Velocity. Now, he has got a lot of experience working on various Salesforce cloud solutions. As the stream lead for tech enablement, he promotes the use of the latest DevOps tools and test automation practices, which is helping a lot of organizations with faster deployment, development, and improved efficiency. A very warm welcome to Joakim. Thanks for taking this time to talk to us. Now, Joakim, for our audience, with your introduction, can you elaborate on what the Nordic Sales Platform Transformation Program that you are working at E.On is all about?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Disha, for the nice introduction. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so what we're working with is, you know that we have the climate change coming up, or not coming up, but we have the climate change. We need to go fossil-free, renewable. We have the war in Ukraine that was rising the prices. So in order to meet the customers in the best good way, we need to have new fast solutions in order to go to market in a very, very quick way. So that is the Nordic Sales Platform program or transformation program in essence.
Okay, so while you were at the start of this program, can you list down some top 3 or 4 challenges that you were encountering, which is why you even thought of going and having this Salesforce DevOps tools for the platform?
Yeah, so it was a sneak preview of those top 3 struggles in the slide, but thanks anyway. So, what we did was that there were a couple of other E.On regions that were ahead of us on the Salesforce implementation. So we had a couple of lessons learned from those regions and what they have been doing and what went well, what did not go well, as well as having meetings with Salesforce other customers that they informed us about. So with those lessons learned that we had, we drew some conclusions that one of the main challenges. So I wouldn't say that these are the only one, but one of the main one is to keep all the environments and sandboxes in sync. As time progresses, they will be in different versions. You have hot fixes, some environments, and that leads to a lot of stress and frustration for the team. So in order to ensure that all environments are in sync, we know what version is in each environment. That was one of the top things so it wasn't a struggle for us, but it was something that we wanted to avoid. Another one that we also realized from these lessons learned and listening to partners and colleagues was that the code quality, if we didn't have control of that already from the beginning, then when you get this kind of tools after 3-4 years, when you start doing the code coverage, the code quality, it could be a mess. You have no control. You don't know what status is in. So already to have that from the beginning, we could early find those kind of issues. And also since Salesforce is so low code, no code tool to business. So then making sure that how can we then let business also to be part of the citizen development? How can we let them take part of the development part and not only have the developers handling it. So those were like the top 3 things that we listed in order to find out how do we then move on.
So that's interesting to know, because you are like one of the initial teams wherein the Salesforce, you started implementing DevOps along with your Salesforce implementation. So now I understand that there are a lot of DevOps tools in the market, and it becomes very noisy with so many features and offerings on the table. In such crowded space, how did your team evaluate the right kind of DevOps tool? Like, did you have any criteria that were absolutely necessary for for E.On as a company, for you as the team, in selecting that right DevOps tool?
So I mean, we had a lot of different criteria, but what we started with was that we went to the research companies, the big ones, and we first eliminated all the solutions that was in the top, in top quadrant. And then the second thing was, what we did was that we had a lot of workshops, making sure that, that we were actually seeing what they said that they could do. So then we could eliminate a lot of them. And then we had a handful of vendors left. And like one of the top thing that we asked of those handful of vendors, that what we needed was to have a fully Salesforce native solution. Some of them that we were investigating, they have their solutions running in other clouds. Not that it's bad from a security perspective, but in order for us to get this, fast forward, and we don't have to go through all the, let's say, internal cybersecurity things, it made things easier for us. If it was Salesforce Cloud native. So that's one of the very very important thing. And also one big thing is that not go on the list prices, what you see, but actually go in detail. What kind of features are included in the price that you get? What is additional? And how do you then map this together to get the exact cost that you want? Also, we didn't know, so some price models were based on different roles, if you're an admin or if you're a user, but since we didn't know how many we're going to have of each, it was easier than just to have a very straight, flat pricing model. And also, the part in the middle was that we needed a tool that was very easy to get started with quickly for some of our developers, release engineers. They are not used to GitLab, so the onboarding threshold to GitLab is much higher. So we wanted them to be able to get started quickly. So our release manager, with a 2-hour session, new, more junior developers are actually able to take this on quite quickly. So those were like the top 3 criteria that we had for our evaluation. Was that?
So, yeah. So, I wonder, you are a project manager for such a critical project that is working on Salesforce. While you have listed all this criteria, how do you measure the ROI? Or how do you even measure that what is going to be the overall impact of adopting Flosum, or for that matter, any other DevOps platform within your Salesforce ecosystem?
Yeah, so that was one of the things. So we didn't have a tool to start with. So we didn't have any measurement or any baselines to measure against. But also then, with the lessons learned that we had from our other colleagues in other E.On regions, and as well as other companies, we quickly could see that and this is a common knowledge within development, is that the sooner that you find issues in your life cycle, development life cycle, the faster and cheaper it is to fix them. So if you find just before you're going into production, it will take time and effort to fix those things. So what we did was that emphasize on this shift left method, that we're trying to identify issues and problems as early as possible in the development lifecycle. So what we were doing is that, as you can see on the picture here. Now, if you go back one, please. Yeah, there. So what you can see was that as soon as the code is being deployed to our preset environment, as what we call one of them, before we go into integration, we're doing a scan. We're scanning the code, see the code coverage and the quality, etc. And then we deploy it to the next environment, that is a queue environment. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen dump here, but this is, I think the screen dump is maybe 4 or 5 weeks old. But at the time, we only had 2 critical and 15 warnings in the system. And as we've seen, then people then adopting this, once they have been live for 3-4 years, they have more than 1,000 criticals in the system. So with this one, we went back early. So at the moment, with the policies that we have set, we don't have any critical warnings or issues in our environment. So that's one thing that actually is saving a lot of money for us in terms of time to market and development. Next slide, please. Another thing that actually is saving money or saving time, I would say, is that since we have so many people in the program and we have all these environments and sandboxes, it's difficult for people to know what version is in which environment, how did the test run go, what is the code coverage in this environment, etc., etc. So what they're doing then is that they mail our developers that is very, very busy with other stuff, or even our release engineer or release managers, and ask those questions. So they will then have to take time to go back and respond to those questions. I mean, that could be like 10, 15 mails per day asking those standard basic things. That takes time from development, or of course, that also impact quality if they have to go back and forth. So what we did or have done is that we have integrated with our Teams, Microsoft Teams. So we have a team channel called Flosum notification. So everybody can go in there and see what is the status of that environment, and what user story because we also have a Jira integration as well. So we can also see what user story were deployed to what environment. So anyone that is part of the team or the program are able to go in and see themselves. So we don't have to bother the developer to answer those basic questions that everybody actually can see for themselves. So in this example, you can see that is our Hyperforce production environment, how many that it was a test run, how many failed, how many passed, etc. So then you will have the status quite quickly. And if there are so many questions, then you can go back and ask the developer or the release engineer. Next. Yeah, as I said, the shift left strategy that we had, that was also like very, very saving for us, as I said, because we are identifying issues quite early, and we then also have the user friendly we call it peer review that is very user friendly. So what we started with, maybe that was a little bit wrong, but we started with to grant all the developers as a peer reviewer. So everybody could review each other's code, but maybe that wasn't the best. So since Flosum is so flexible, we can now have different levels of peer review. So we can let like the more junior to do peer review together with a more senior. So, and it's also very easy to see with the comparison. I mean, what is in the target org, what is in the source org, what kind of conflicts do we have? So I mean, even I, as a non-developer, very easy can see this like on a comparison side on this one. So we could set like the rules on who can do peer review, etc. So we don't have to involve the most like skilled developers to start with, and assign them to more critical tasks. So those are like the top things that I would say.
That's very interesting to know, because then now your core developers can focus on development, on innovation, wherein the junior developers can learn on their way through peer reviews as well. So that is like a very interesting way to do things. Coming on to our last question. What is that one piece of advice that you would want to offer to other organizations or other teams who would have been in your place in the similar kind of a situation, wherein they are also looking for improving the productivity? They also want to accelerate their deployments, right? they also do not want to break their bank, correct? So what is that one piece of advice? Or in case if you want to share a few more pieces of advice, please do so.
Yes, I mean, the number one is to get the tool in place as early as possible. If you can, before you even start the project or program. If you have the tool in place or the different tools in place, then you're able to see, you will get some metrics on how things progressing, and you can see how the teams evolve over time. So, I mean, that's like the key thing. And also, like I said, you asked about like return on investment improvements, but since we only could get those from lessons learned from other ones, we couldn't actually see how much we were lowering to start with. But to have like baseline from day one, we could slowly see how we were improving in different areas. And another thing is like the dashboard, and that's on the other slide coming up. If starting with the different dashboards, we could quickly see and learn how deployments or development and deployment went through the different quality stages through the environments, and maybe which developer were struggling with a specific deployment. We could also see, and as in this example, we had some issues with Velocity or Salesforce Industries, like some failing. And so earlier be able to understand why do we have failure in the deployments, instead of creating the KPIs upfront saying that we have to deploy 50 user stores per week before we even started. But instead of seeing how many user stores do we actually deploy per week, but not only deploy, but deploy with quality. Because otherwise the developers would just deploy, and the quality is bad, but they meet their KPIs and the metrics. But so starting already from the beginning, that would be my main advice. So you will have good insights in code coverage and code quality from day one.
Okay. So just looking at this dashboard, do you just want to elaborate more on the insights that you take from the dashboard, or any other developers in your team also take it up? You just want to elaborate on each of the components for the audience?
Yeah, so I mean, this is one out of many dashboards. So there are a couple pre-built, and then you can configure your own dashboard. And since this is in Salesforce-native, there's a lot of things that that is possible to customize on this one. So in this example, we have a dashboard over our deployments in QA. So I've chosen, I think it's maybe it's the last sprint or last month. I'm not sure in this one, but we can. In the left part, we can choose the time period, so the last 2 weeks, the last month, or the last year, or whatever. So in this case, since the last month, we have done 8 deployments in the QA environment. Out of those, 6 were successful and 2 failed. And then there are actual links that can drill down, so we can see exactly what failed. We can see who did the deployment, etc. So we will be able to get all those insights from these dashboards. And so there are 2 purposes of this. One is to go back to the teams, the development, to show them this so they can improve on their side, but also to show to the management, this is the actual status that we have. And based on this velocity that we have, that we're doing this amount of deployments per week, then we think that based on the amount of user stores that we have in our backlog, we should be able to, with release X at this time point. So this insights is helpful both from, let's say, improving the development side, but also give insights on the actual prediction, the roadmap that we have on the releases. Will we meet those based on the velocity that we can see in these dashboards?
Understood. So thank you, Joakim, for sharing such wonderful insights with us. With this, I would request you all to please post your questions here in the Q&A panel at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I have been answering few questions while Joakim was replying, but still, we would try to answer as many questions as possible. In the meantime, a quick glance through about Flosum. So Flosum is the leading end-to-end secure DevOps, data management, and data protection platform. Now, Flosum DevOps platform, it is built 100% native on Salesforce. Now, Flosum is widely trusted and deployed across enterprises such as 3M, Snowflake, Cushman & Wakefield, L'Oreal, Citibank, G Healthcare, Cargill, and many more. Now, we are a Salesforce Summit partner, which is the highest tier in the Salesforce Partner Program. We are continuously recognized as leader in G2 and App Exchange, thanks to our user reviews who keep on giving us nice, fantastic reviews. With this, let me open up the floor for Q&A question. So, Joakim, the first question that I would like to ask, which is like exactly the person wants to know about how E.On did this. So the question is, how has the implementation of DevOps transformed E.On's Salesforce environment? Now, they have also asked that in terms of efficiency, collaboration, and overall business outcome. I think you covered those points throughout the presentation, but still, in case if you just want to summarize in terms of efficiency, collaboration, and business outcome.
Yeah. So when it comes to efficiency, like the dashboard things that we have, the integration that we've done with Teams and also Jira, GitLab that we do for our security scanning. So the total having Flosum in the middle, like an orchestrator or the one tool to go to, that, I mean, comparing to other projects that we've been looking into and seeing, we have some very high efficiency in terms of quality going from dev to production. So very, very little like redeployment or findings in the late stage. Business outcome, that's have been a little bit difficult to measure because, I mean, since we had Flosum from the beginning and everybody's very satisfied, so we haven't seen any like not having Flosum, then introducing Flosum on that one. But one takeaway on the business outcome, like I say, is that with integration to Teams, and since it's also, say, Salesforce native, it's very easy for business to see themselves without having to go either to developers or release managers to either check the status or find out something. They can do it themselves. I hope that was an answer to that question.
I think so, yes. Now, I'm very excited for this another question because I asked this question to you when we were talking about how Flosum is helping you all. So the question is, what are some high-level reasons why you would want to use Flosum over a manually built solution like Git?
It has a couple of. So when we did the comparison, so I'm talking from, this is 2 years ago. At the time, when velocity, our Salesforce Industries, was very important for us, and I'm not sure if Git now have better support for it, but that was like one main reason. We want to have real good velocity support. So when we also did the evaluation, we had to disqualify a couple of those on the market vendors because they didn't support velocity or Salesforce Industries. Another part is that the onboarding to work with Git and all the customization that you have to do, etc., is also costly and time consuming, and we need to hire more senior developers. Another thing, if we do this in Git, as you know, Salesforce have 3 major releases per year, or the annual releases, spring, summer, and winter. With Flosum or a tool that you buy, they are responsible for doing those updates and making sure that they do the regression test. So we don't want to spend time to ensure that our tools are fit for fight when there's a new Salesforce release coming, because we have enough to do with the regression of what we're developing. So we don't want to bother on that side. So that is saving us a lot of time and effort to use a tool like Flosum, because they are making sure that they are compliant with the Salesforce releases.
Okay. Next question. There are a lot of questions. I'm just screaming through all the questions. So yeah, looking ahead, what are some of the potential future enhancements or expansions E.On is considering for their Salesforce-native DevOps solution? And how does Flosum plan to support them in these endeavors? So any roadmap that you would have, this we have discussed. I know that you have few exciting things coming up.
One of the key things is we're also using Clayton for the vulnerability scanning, and we really would like to see an integration with Clayton, because I mean we can go to the Clayton dashboard as we had in one screen and move back, but if we collect everything in, since we have Apex PMD, the things in Flosum, it would be really great if we could get that information also into Flosum from Clayton. Another thing, but that is actually just released, and we had a session early with Flosum technicians today, and it was really cool to see is the deployment dashboard. I've just looked into it, but I'm really excited to deep dive. So that's it's future, but it's, I mean, we have it right now. The future today.
Sure, we'll be happy to help you out with that. So we'll take one last question, just looking at the time. What key metrics or KPIs did E.On use to measure the success and effectiveness of this DevOps implementation in Salesforce environment? So you touch base upon it in terms of dashboard, but just you want to list down the KPIs, then please do so for this person.
Yeah, so we have some KPIs for go no go that we have prior to our releases, and one of them is that the code coverage is about 90%. We're currently at 94, so I mean we have some room to live with there. Another one, as you saw in one of the screens, was that we're not allowed to have any critical warnings in the system. We had 4 or 5 weeks back, but they are fixed now. And less than, what is it? Less than 20 warnings or something, that's another KPI. So the KPIs that we have are mostly related to a go live and also to be, compliant to the different cybersecurity requirements that we have within E.On as such.
Yep. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joakim. With this, we would like to end the session. Now, we have received many questions today, but due to the time constraint, we are not able to address them all. So we'll reach out to you with the answer to all your questions. We have recorded the questions. Also, you can mail us at hello@flosum.com with any of your questions, or even for booking one-to-one conversation with us. We would love to talk to you. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation as much as we did. Have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.